What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and welcome to another episode of Versus. If you don't already know what Versus is, basically, it's a series where we take two weapons, or sometimes other things, put them head-to-head to try to make you a better Call of Duty player. But before we actually get into talking about the two weapons we're looking at today, I first wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about E3 and the Call of Duty World War II multiplayer reveal. So tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or I believe that's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, is when the PS4 press conferences at E3. Now, at this press conference, at some time during this press conference, that is when we are getting the Call of Duty World War II multiplayer reveal. I don't know how much gameplay is going to be involved in that, but that is when it's happening. Tomorrow is when the E3 show floor opens and people can actually go play the game. Now, personally, I'm not there, and I'm not sure whether people are actually going to be able to record or not, but I'm sure we're going to get some more gameplay on top of that tomorrow. As far as videos on this channel, you'll probably get one more tonight when the multiplayer reveal comes up, talking about that and any information we get from that, and we're going to have lots more videos throughout the week talking about Call of Duty World War II. So, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, now is probably the best time to do so, as we're going to be covering Call of Duty World War II in the deepest possible way I can for you guys, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. But I'm just letting you know, over the next 2-3 days, we're going to have a lot of videos about Call of Duty World War II going up on this channel, starting later tonight. But the two weapons we're going to be looking at today, we got the AK-74u, which is a newer supply drop weapon that was recently added into Black Ops 3, which is an SMG, versus the KN-44. Now, as you guys know on Versus, I don't actually often like comparing two weapons of different classes, i.e. today we're comparing an SMG versus an assault rifle, but there is a specific reason why I'm doing so. The reason is the AK-74u is, well, obviously an AK-74u. Now, the KN-44 is actually a futuristic type of AK-47. The reason why I know that is the background of the KN-44 is it's made by a weapons group called the KN Company, and it's made in 2062. That is when the production of the KN-44 actually started. Just a little bit of background information that Call of Duty Black Ops 3 actually gives you. And believe it or not, even though these weapons are in different classes, they still end up comparing pretty well. Even to the point where if you listen to them firing, they almost have the exact same sound of the weapon firing. The only difference is the pitch of the 74u is just a little bit higher than the pitch of the KN-44. The KN-44 sounds a little bit deeper. Now, let's start talking about the stats. So when comparing assault rifles and SMGs, the thing you're going to notice is assault rifles are always going to have a better damage, and SMGs are always going to have a better rate of fire. So because of this, the SMG has to have a good enough fire rate to make up for that lack of damage. So the damage profile for the KN-44 is pretty basic. It's going to be a 3 to a 4 bullet kill, which is actually really good for assault rifles in Black Ops 3. The other weapon, the AK-74u, is going to be a 3 to a 6 bullet kill. So obviously a much worse damage profile for the 74u. So for that, the KN-44 is going to get +1 point. So the only other obvious stat that the KN-44 is going to get is range, because obviously assault rifles are going to have better range than SMG. But just as a comparison, the 3 bullet kill range on the AK-74u is 12.5 meters. The 3 bullet kill range on the KN-44 is 17.5 meters. So about 5 meters further on the KN-44 than the 74u. But obviously for this, since the range is better, the KN-44 is going to get +1 more point and extend that lead. So then the obvious stat that the 74u is going to get is the fire rate, right? Well, kind of. So the fire rate for the 74u is 652 RPM, where the fire rate for the KN-44 is 625 RPM. I mean, that's not a huge difference. In fact, it's almost to the point where you're not even going to notice it in game. However, it is better, and for that, the 74u is going to get +1 point. So now that we know the damage profile, the range, and the rate of fire, we can now look at time to kill. And the basic way to look at this is the 74u is going to have a better time to kill up until 12.5 meters. After 12.5 meters, the KN-44 will always have the better time to kill, and that's an absolute huge thing. So for this, there's just so many more ranges where the KN-44 has the better time to kill, and for that, it's going to get +1 point. point. Before we move on past time to kill though, the one thing I will say about the 74u is it has one of the best time to kills between 6.5 meters and 12.5 meters. That is the money range. That is where you want to get into the gunfights with the 74u. That is where you will succeed with this weapon. The next stat we're going to look at here is one we actually don't normally look at when doing these episodes of Versus. The reason being is normally we compare weapons in the same class. So assault rifle versus assault rifle, SMG versus SMG. But this is something that changes drastically from SMGs to assault rifle, and that is movement speed. So movement speed with SMGs is 100% when not aiming down sights and 80% while aiming down sights. Assault rifles are 95% while not aiming down sights and 40% while aiming down sights. So a drastic difference in movement speeds, especially while aiming down sights. So for that, you move a little bit faster with the 74u, and for that, the 74u gets +1 point and narrows the KN-44's lead. Now, another interesting stat about these two weapons is the magazine size. Both of them have a 30-round magazine. An interesting fact about Black Ops 3 is that most SMGs actually have bigger magazines than assault rifles in this game. For example, most assault rifles are a 30-round magazine, but then we have SMGs like the VMP, like the Weevil, with 40 to 50 round magazines, and that's kind of abnormal for a Call of Duty game. But when we look at the reload speeds, we actually see the opposite. So the AK-74u has a reload speed of 2.5 seconds with bullets still in the magazine and 3.25 seconds with an empty magazine. The KN-44 has a reload speed of 2.03 seconds with bullets still in the magazine and 2.8 seconds with an empty magazine. That's a lot faster, about 0.5 seconds faster than the 74u. I thought this was going to be the other way around. That being said, when you use the 74u, you can really feel how long its reload time is, and for that, the KN-44 reloads faster and is therefore going to get +1 point. Now, with the rest of the stats we're going to look at for these two weapons, you're really going to realize how similar these two weapons are. For example, the sprint out time for both weapons is 0.3 seconds. The aim down sights time for both weapons is 0.25 seconds. The idle sway for both weapons, which is the amount of movement you have in your sights while aiming down sights, is the exact same for both weapons. The interesting thing about the KN-44 is its idle sway is more than all of the other assault rifles. It's the same as the SMGs, which is odd, but it's the exact same as the 74u. The only other stats that's different is the hip spread. So the hip spread for the 74u is 2 inches at a minimum and 5 at a maximum. The KN-44's hip spread is 3.5 inches at a minimum and 7 at a maximum. So obviously it's a little bit smaller for the 74u, and for that it gets +1 point. And the final thing that really surprised me with these two weapons is the recoil. When I played with these two weapons, I tried using different scopes, using them at different ranges, and the recoil was so similar on these two weapons. In fact, to the point where I had to look it up. It turns out that both of these weapons have the exact same sender speed, and that's why the recoil feels so similar. And both of them are incredibly easy to manage, incredibly easy to use, and I'm not going to give out any points based on that because it's based on feel, but to me, the recoil pattern feels incredibly similar between the two. So which one is the winner? Clearly, the KN-44 is the winner, and this is kind of what I expected. What it really comes down to is that the rate of fire on the 74u doesn't make up for its lack of damage. If it had a little bit faster of a fire rate, maybe 700 RPM, it may be the winner of this, but that's not the case, and for that, the KN-44 is this week's winner. Main reason, its time to kill is better at any range past 12.5 meters, and that's just a really good thing to have over top of the other weapon. But let me know what you think. Do you disagree with me? Do you think the 74u is the better weapon? Let me know down in the comments. And also, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more episodes of Versus, the way to show me is by hitting that like button. But guys, if you're new to the channel and like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We have tons of Call of Duty World War II content. As soon as the reveal happens, I'll be sure to bring you all of the information I can, starting tonight at around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want instantaneous updates, the best way to do so is check out my Twitter. There's a link down in the description, or you can just check it out. It's at Inkslasher. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out. Make the ground shake.